Hey guys, what's up? Scottish Duck here, once again. Right, I feel like it's been a while since I came in front of the camera, actually. Incidentally, yes, I know, a lot less hair, and this light shining on top of my head is really unflattering. I know, okay? But what can I do? That's what time does, you know? So, I figured to myself, so I posted that like little update video thing talking about what games I was playing, all that. I still don't have enough videos to do a collection update. Fuck off. Top 20 3DS games. Like, let's just get on with this before I ramble and stutter a wee bit more, you know? I mean, the 3DS is like possibly my favourite handheld console of all time. It's either that or the original DS, okay? And I'm gonna give it slightly to the 3DS, I think, mainly because there's so much on the DS that I still haven't really properly sat through and played. I actually tried to come up with a top 20 for that first, but it was really hard. There's not that much I've played, and there's also like my one game per franchise rule that I like to stick with. That was a lot easier to do on the 3DS, so let's go, okay? So, first of all we have, this is a real obscure one actually, I'd be surprised most people remember this one. Rhythm Thief and the Emperor's Treasure. Okay, so this was made by Sega around, like, I think it was a 2012 game. That was a time where they were actually kind of experimenting and trying new IPs. I remember the same year Binary Domain came out. Really good game also. But yeah, we got this as well. And it is basically, think Professor Layton, but it's a sort of like, instead of like solving puzzles, you're doing like rhythm action games a la like Rhythm Heaven, you know? It really is sort of like mini games split up like that, you know? And it was also by the same guy that did Samba de Amigo. I think it was Shun Nakamura that did this. In fact, yeah, it definitely was. And yeah, the music is really good, and the style is really good. You know, a lot of the sort of like qualities that I like about Professor Layton games are present here, but the things that I don't like about the Professor Layton games are also here. Like, they really went ham on it, to be quite honest. Like, mainly with the story. The story's cheesy as fuck. You know, like, you have like your main character here. He's called Phantomar, and he's like 12 or something, and he's stealing paintings from high-tech museums and shit, and it's like, this is a bit much. How's he doing all this? He should still be in high school or something. I don't know, but he's got like a dog. That helps, maybe? I don't know, maybe the French police are just like utter shite or something, but whatever. Rhythm Thief, number 20. Number 20. Okay. And speaking of which, number 19 is Professor Layton and the Azran Legacy. Possibly my favourite Professor Layton game. I was debating on whether or not to put the Ace Attorney / Professor Layton crossover game that we did get for the 3DS, because that was pretty good, but like most Professor Layton games, that got really dumb near the end, you know? I've talked about this a lot. I have the weirdest love-hate relationship with Professor Layton, okay? I love the games, I love the characters, I love the gameplay, but there's always like the last hour or so of each game gets really stupid, and I'm just like completely thrown out of it. And when I started playing Azran Legacy, right, I was thinking to myself, oh my god, they fixed this, because it's actually made up of like several little sub-stories, you know? But then you get to the end, like the last hour, and they really condensed all the stupid shit into like that last hour. It's really dumb, you know, so it still has that issue. But this could be my favourite Professor Layton game. It's either this or The Last Spectre, which was the last game that they released for the DS. But yeah, it's Professor Layton, you know? Okay. I actually have like a Lady Layton. Yeah, it's over there in the, what is it? Layton's Mystery Journey. Which was like the one starring his daughter. I didn't even beat that one. Could not be bothered. Which I feel quite bad about, but whatever. Whatever. Number 18. See, I kind of like pulled all of these games off the shelf kind of quickly and put them in an order, and it's like, okay, I don't know, maybe I don't think about this as much as I should when I'm ordering this, because I put this in here, I'm probably going to regret it. Actually, no, I'm not going to regret it. Sonic Boom Fire and Ice. This game, right, was quite bizarre in the fact that it probably shouldn't even have existed. Okay, Sonic Boom, in terms of video games, you know, as far as I'm aware, the cartoon was actually quite good, but in terms of like video games, Sonic Boom was beyond tainted, you know, like, we're talking like Sonic 06 levels of taint on the franchise, you know. In my opinion, it never really was as taintful as that, because ultimately Sonic Boom is a spin-off, it's not main series, so I don't think it was as damaging as something like Sonic 06. But the fact of the matter is, folks said Sonic Boom, they thought of the fucking Wii U game, they thought of the first 3DS game, and they were like, yeah, they didn't like that. So when Sanzaro Games, the same people that did Sly 4, excellent game, announced that they were going to make a sequel, everybody was like, alright. I guess Sega clearly wanted something on the 3DS to do with Sonic, because Sonic really does not have a good 3DS game, okay? Sonic Generations was very meh. Sonic it's not Sonic Colors, Sonic Lost World, the 3DS version was not that good, just like the console version. But so the fact that they went to a sequel of Sonic Boom of all things was really weird. And I remember when this game got delayed. It got delayed, like, to the next year. It wasn't going to come out in November like most Sonic games tend to. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll see what happens. And it came out, and it's actually okay. It's actually pretty decent, this game, right? It doesn't feel entirely like Sonic. It's not too fast. It's not got many of the elements that I do dig about the series, but it's alright. It's alright. Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, it's alright. Number 18, in fact. It's alright. Okay then, right. And right above Sonic Boom Fire and Ice, clearly it must be quite equal in terms of quality. This is going to annoy a lot of people. Metroid Samus Returns. I'm actually surprised how low I'm putting this on the list, okay? Because I did really enjoy this game, okay? It was like a really nice return to form for Metroid. Super Metroid's one of my favourite games ever, honestly. But I have like a weird relationship with Metroid in that I really respect it, but there's few games there that I outright love, okay? So when this came out, you know, being like a sort of like 3DS owner, because this was probably the last completely relevant 3DS game that came out in terms of like it being a brand new game, you know. For the past year or so, and still coming out right now, we have nothing but like ports and remasters of older Nintendo games, which is fine, you know, that's just them slowly pushing out the 3DS, that's fine. But this was probably the last really big one. And it went out with a bang, it really did. This is an extremely good Metroidvania game, you know. I don't have too much to say beyond that. It's a remake of the second game, which was like a Game Boy game, which not a lot of people like these days. Like it was Metroid on the fucking Game Boy, you know. Yeah, but it's been reimagined to be something a lot better, and yeah, it was awesome. So enjoy. Metroid Samus Returns. Yes, I'm here. Okay. Right, what are we on now? Right, here we are at number 16. Right, okay. Now I have a lot to say about this one. Okay. Mario and Luigi. What's it called? Dream Team Bros. I think this was actually called something different in America. I don't know, okay? So many people don't like this game. It's not that it gets like a lot of hate or something, but it gets like a lot of like sneer and saying, Dream Team, yeah, like it's got this like stigma of being unimpressive or something, right? Now, I've not played Bowser's Inside Story, which was like the peak. It was either that or Superstar Saga. Not a lot of people liked Partners in Time. But Superstar Saga, Bowser's Inside Story, everybody fucking loves those ones. This one, however, got tossed in with Partners in Time of being one of the meh games. And I so disagree with that. I fucking loved this game. I thought it was a really good RPG. I really loved like the whole mechanic of Luigi going to sleep and stuff. And again, I'm not too up with this series, to be fair, but yeah, I really liked this. A lot of people didn't. I don't know why, and it's just... I don't get it. I liked it, okay? I liked it. Number 16. Up here. Yeah. Right, number 15 now. This was actually quite a recent playthrough, and was... Okay, it's Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology. This is like an example of like how the 3DS is getting like ports all these days. And you may think I'm cheating a little bit, because it's like, Duck, why are you putting this up here and not like, isn't it a DS game? Well, the DS game, Radiant Historia, is actually one of my all-time like curse games. Like, I tried to play it like at least 2 or 3 times on the DS and always like fell off. Not because of the game being bad or whatever, it just always fell off, and I don't know why. So when this got announced, it was like, okay, here we go. We're doing this now. And they've made some changes from the original. Not everything that I was like total pleased with, but this is definitely the best way to play the game now. Yeah, I finally beat it and really, really loved it. You know, the story is excellent. How everything ties together with the time traveling mechanics and stuff. It's kind of like a sequel, sort of a successor to Chrono Trigger, maybe, is what I would say. That's how I always saw it. Maybe just because it's got to do with time travel, but the mechanics are definitely a lot different, but I don't know, that's just kind of how I saw it. But either way, Radiant Historia Perfect Chronology, excellent game. Love it. And there was a jump cut. Sorry about that, guys. The battery in this camera's getting a bit low. I may have to jump cut again, but let's see how quickly we can get through this video. I think it's just going to be one very long video, but whatever. Next up is, now what place is this? This is number 14. Yes, 14. Okay. Kirby Triple Deluxe. Now, let me tell you guys something, right? I remember in 2011 I picked up Kirby's Adventure, or as it's known in America, Kirby Return to Dreamland for the Wii. And at that point I was just completely convinced, okay, this is the best Kirby game. I loved Return to Dreamland on the Wii. It's an excellent game. Better than Epic Yarn, I think. Not just because it's more traditional, I just think it was all around a much better game. And I think it was like the game where Nintendo was like, okay, Kirby, I guess, is popular now, let's keep doing this. So they like took the engine and made this, and of course they would go on to make the other one that came out the other year there, Planet Robobot? Oh fuck, what's it called? I don't know. The other Kirby game on the 3DS, it's not this. But I thought that this one was a bit better, you know. Again, I don't think they're as good as the one on the Wii, but they were just like really good games in their own right. And I don't know, I was a little bummed about how Kirby Star Allies turned out on the Switch. Like, I've not actually played it, but it's one of those things where you look at it and you can sort of gauge, this isn't the Kirby that I kind of fell in love with, you know? Even though it is something different, it's a bit too different for me, you know? I don't want to judge it too much, obviously I've not played it, but they're not this, they're not these games, you know, and that's just how it kind of is for me. But yeah, this is the best Kirby game on the 3DS, you know. Kirby's Epic Yarn is going to be coming to the 3DS soon. I may pick that up, I don't know, but I think this one's the best. This is probably better than Epic Yarn, I don't know. This is number 14. Kirby Triple Deluxe. Right, say, next up, number 13, we have Hatsune Miku, Project Mirai DX. Holy shit, okay. You guys remember like 5-6 years ago, if any of you followed me on Twitter, you'll know that this fucking shit, okay, took over like my life. My weeb senses were tingling, and it was like, this is for me, this is like what I'm into, you know. And it's like, I'm not as fanatical about Vocaloid as I was back then. I still appreciate it, you know. Every time a new game comes out, I will like play it, you know. But it's also one of those things that I do look back on and I'm just giggling. I'm like, why did it like take me over so much, you know? I was a total like one of those idol worshippers from Japan, you know. That's what I was like with fucking Vocaloid, okay? And this, I must say, is potentially my favourite Vocaloid game. I love, like, the style that they went for with the Nendroid figures, you know, the big heads. Got Nendroid figure here. Can you see that? Is that in the... It's not in the frame. It's like, okay, here you go. I got a Miku Nendroid, okay? So they went with that style as opposed to the sort of, like, more, like, traditional body proportions that they had in all the other games. And it was just, like, the songs on here as well were just so much more cute, you know? Like, maybe I just got distracted because of the art style, but the songs were just way more adorable on this one, and I liked it more as a result. And it's called Hatsune Miku DX, because from what I understand, they released 2 of these in Japan, but the sequel really was just like, they just included like every song from the first game on the sequel, or they released it as downloadable content as what eventually. And when they decided to bring it out over here, they were just like DX, and they included like all the songs. I'm pretty sure every song that was in the first 2 games is available here. Well, there's fucking cards in here, completely forgot about that. But yeah, other than that, it really is just like a sort of similar rhythm action game with a selection of songs that you would normally get. And there's like a version of Puyo Puyo in here as well, because why the fuck not? Which I got surprisingly into. It was like, it was technically my first time playing Puyo Puyo, probably, was on this fucking game. But yeah, it's there, and it's really, really good, honest to God. I mean, probably my favourite Miku game now is Project Diva Future Tone for PS4, but that's only because that's literally like 200 songs, you know? And this is just like, some of the songs from this are on Project Diva Future Tone, so I'd probably say get that before getting this, but if you've only got a 3DS, this is not a bad game to have at all. That's the Miku number 13. Right, number 12 we have, this is one that I really love. Project Cross Zone 2. This is like, how do I put it? I dropped it there. This is a game that really just like, more so than being the game itself, just really makes me grin because it's my zone, okay? I love like this sort of like, these Japanese characters from these Japanese companies that I love so much, all meeting together and they just make a game out of it. A very like bare bones strategy RPG. I never beat the first one, but this sequel really fixed a lot of problems with the first game, honest to God. And it's just a mixture of characters, all humanoid anime characters from Sega, Capcom and Namco, and you just make a strategy RPG about it. And it's nothing but fan service, alright? The story is really long and really stupid, the gameplay is fairly bare bones, it's all on the fan service here, it really is, and that is what I love about it. And throw in some Xenoblade and some Fire Emblem characters on top of that, you got something that I really, really love. And the music, oh, all the remixes that they have of like songs from all the different franchises, it's amazing, okay? If you're into this sort of fan service, go for this. It's essential. It really is. The first game as well, but this one definitely more so. Okay, next up. Right. I'm honestly not sure where I want to put this game, but I knew I couldn't not put it on the list, so I guess in a way I've just sort of thought, that's too low, or that's too high, so I've put it like here at number 11, more or less in the middle of the list. Legend of Zelda: Link Between Worlds. Now, I love Zelda, love it to death, you know, who doesn't, really? But my feelings about this one are so weird, so mixed, because fuck, I could rant about this for a while, I really could. Basically, the sort of like mentality that they took with this, that Zelda was suddenly going to be like open world, and they really like built that up, and all of like fans of like A Link to the Past was suddenly like, yes, they finally made Zelda open again! They bothered the shit out of me, okay, because I love Link to the Past. I adore Link to the Past so fucking much, but the sort of like, the fact that people want to say that that game is like non-linear, and then another one of my favourite games ever, Ocarina of Time, is linear. It's like, it really just gets exaggerated, okay, that Ocarina of Time is linear and games like this aren't, so it almost felt like Nintendo was like downing the other games in the franchises for being linear. I don't know. That's how it was, that's how it sort of hit my brain, okay? I didn't want to like think that, because it is obviously an extremely well put together game. It's a fucking Zelda game, you know? It's fucking... Obviously, it's excellent, but I just have that mentality towards it. That and the fact that it's the same overworld from A Link to the Past. It takes like so much from A Link to the Past. There's a bit less in the way of like originality to it. That also kind of like puts it down on my list of like favourite Zelda games as a result. But yeah, it's always gonna have that stigma with me, even though it is really good. It really is. Games like Ocarina of Time and Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess, okay, they're not linear. They are not linear games. The story might be linear, but they're not linear games, okay? Why do people always think it's just because you can do a dungeon before another certain dungeon that's a night and day difference? Number 11. Number 11. Okay, we're in the top 10 now. We're in the top 10. And number 10, I'm going to... You know, it's funny, this game is like on everything. It's on PC, it's on PS4 and all that. And I actually was looking at it, and I had to like remind myself, it's like, oh yeah, this was originally a 3DS exclusive, and that's where I originally played it and like really, really enjoyed it. And that is Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. This is like the best Shantae game, easily. Half Genie Hero is really close, but this one is just a bit better, I think. I love this character, Shantae. You know, she really is popular in the whole indie scene, I guess. A lot of people really like her, and she just stars in these really awesome Wonder Boy-esque games. There needs to be a name for those sort of games, you know, like Wonder Boy, where they're sort of RPGs, but sort of like open world with lots of collectibles. Because I wouldn't say it's Metroidvania. It's not Metroidvania. It's more of an adventure than being like trapped in a sort of like overworld that you would get in like Metroidvania. It's, I don't know, we need to come up with a name for that. But that's what this is, and it's a really, really, really good one. Excellent music, just looks really pretty. And this 3DS version, it may be my favourite version to play, really. I don't know, I really dig it on the 3DS, even though I have it like... my PS4 games aren't up here anymore, I put them in the other room. But I have the PS4 version of this as well that Limited Run Games had out for a little bit. Really need to get last Half Genie Hero on PS4 as well. But yeah. One thing I will say is, I don't know, when most people talk about Shantae, this is my getting on my soapbox again, people do tend to agree that this is the best game, but they tend to say that the other games were not as good because this was the one that had no emphasis, I should say, on Shantae's like transformation magic, and a lot of people don't like that as opposed to the sort of pirate abilities that you get in this game. I would agree with that, but at the same time I don't like the notion that the other games are bad just because Shantae is doing transformation magic. You know, in the other games she transforms into like all these animals with different abilities. Whereas here, she just kind of naturally gets them. I get that, but I don't want to like put those games down a peg just because they've got that and this one doesn't. Even though it is the best one. I don't know, I'm rambling a lot. Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. That was number 10. Okay, now, number 9. Interesting. Very interesting. Fire Emblem Awakening. Now, I've talked about my sort of like relationship with strategy RPGs a lot. And I'm probably going to do it again at some point down the line. In fact, Valkyria Chronicles 4 is out when I get round to playing that, and I'll probably talk about it then. But this was basically the first strategy RPG game I played, and it wasn't the game that made me love the genre, but it was like a sort of like a way of making me realise it's like, okay, I can beat these games, even though I played it on easy mode and with permadeath turned off. And the game is a fucking joke when you play it like that. You can take Chrom, right? And Chrom can solo, like, so many chapters when you play it on easy. Just put Chrom in the middle of the battlefield. Enemies will come up to him, try to hit him. They will either miss or take off one fucking hit point. He will counter-attack and kill them in one go, okay? It's pathetic. It's pathetic. You really gotta play on higher difficulties. But I played it on easy because I'm a wimp. And I really, really dug it as a result, you know? I feel like there really is a lot I could say. And I will say this as well. I do not own Fire Emblem Fates. I really hate what they did with that game, where they split it up into 3 different games, essentially. And I wasn't that big on Fire Emblem Echoes, which was like the last 3DS one that they did. The amount of DLC they released for that game left a bad taste in my mouth. And I don't know, it wasn't as interesting as this was. And that new Fire Emblem game on the Switch, I'm not that excited. I don't know. I feel like Fire Emblem, after coming back in such a big way with this, they kind of tried to expand on what made Awakening great, but left out so much in the meantime. I don't know. I don't know. But fact of the matter is, this is a great game. Okay, this is like a top 5 3DS game, like in general. Like, I would believe that. For me, it's just in the top 10, but yeah, it really it deserves all the hype that it gets. Fire Emblem Awakening, number 9. Okay, number 8 we have Luigi's Mansion 2. Now, I am so confident that I love this game a lot more than most people, okay? Here's the thing, I think most people who played the original Luigi's Mansion on the GameCube, they're the ones that tend to not like this one that much. The biggest complaint that you get is that it's split up into missions as opposed to being like one mansion that you explore throughout the game. I admit, I probably prefer that structure of the first Luigi's Mansion, but the mission-based structure really didn't get in the way. It didn't like feel less like a survival horror game just because it was mission-based, because you did have these like really atmospheric locations. You did have these like really interesting puzzles that you would spend a long time trying to figure out. You did have to conserve things like health items and stuff, even though it was quite easy and combat with ghosts was quite easy. But it really was like the puzzle solving and the environments and really just like the personality that Luigi just like fucking showed, you know, that really made me fall for this game, okay? Luigi's Mansion 3 recently got announced. If it is just like this, it's just on the Switch, I'll be cool with that. If they do take more cues from the first game, fair enough, I'll dig that too. But I really hope it's Next Level Games that are making Luigi's Mansion 3. I don't know if that's going to be for a fact, but yeah, I would really love that. But yeah, Luigi's Mansion 2, absolutely loved it. Doesn't get enough love. Number 8. Right. Number 7. Kind of surprised that I'm putting this on here, but the fact of the matter is, I played this game a lot. I really did. And it feels wrong not to put it on here, and I don't know why I put it here specifically, but I have, because it's my list. And that's Super Smash Bros. For the 3DS. Now, I remember when this came out before the Wii U version came out, and it was like before I really fell in love with that game competitively and all that. But I would still like pop this in all the time. When I was like traveling or on the go, I would take my 3DS with me and I would like practice on this. This is my most played 3DS game, okay? I would play like Smash Run constantly. I would play like online whenever I had Wi-Fi and I wasn't in the house, you know? I really played this game a lot, and the Wii U version is definitely like my favourite Wii U game. And it's not too much of a stretch to say that it should probably be my favourite 3DS game, but I kind of just want to like judge the game as a whole. And when I say as a whole, I mean Wii U, 3DS, sort of consider them the one game almost, you know? But I don't not want to put it on this list, and I can't not really put it fairly high, so I'm sticking it here. But yeah, Smash Bros. 3DS, really good version of the game, really is. Cannot fucking wait for Ultimate. Oh my god. Right, now, we're at the top 6 right now, and these next 3 are actually all RPGs. They are my favourite RPGs in the 3DS. 3DS had some excellent fucking RPGs. And I actually don't know how I want to order these ones, like, genuinely. So I've literally just put them in alphabetical order. So really, these next 3, you can put them in any order. So let's just do this, shall we? First one is Bravely Default. Now, I remember this was like a big deal for me when this got announced, because this was like, there was like a time in like 2012, maybe 2011, 2014, where video game localization was so like prominent in my mind, and games just were not coming out of Japan. It was such a weird time. It's not like that anymore. Like games like 5-6 years ago, when they eventually did make it out of Japan, which was very rare, you pretty much always got them like digital only. You were lucky to get like a physical version. It was so weird, because nowadays you're like, you see a game being released in Japan, it's like, okay, we're gonna get that. Of course, why wouldn't we get that? And it always comes out physically. You know, you have so many like games coming out physically these days. It's mental how things have changed, at least compared to like how I used to perceive it. And this was just like a perfect example of a game that we did not get for a good while, and I just wanted so badly, and we eventually did. Nintendo themselves published it. There's Kick-Ass Collector's Edition, right there. And yeah, this is the only RPG I've ever played that I got to level 99. Okay, and I still couldn't beat the final boss. I had to put it down to easy to beat the final boss. I'm definitely a wimp in that regard. And I actually didn't really like the sequel that much. I gave up on the sequel. I have my own little like nitpicks about Bravely Second. You know, there was things that I liked about it, things that I didn't, but ultimately I just sort of like cut it off. Probably because there was other stuff I was wanting to play. But this first game, fucking adore it. Really, I can't wait for... I think we're going to get like another Bravely Default game coming to the Switch. I think they were hinting about something like that. But yeah, if that's the case, cannot wait. Bravely Default, one of the best RPGs on the 3DS. And another great one is Dragon Quest VII. I think it was like probably like 3-4 years ago that I started like really getting into Dragon Quest. Currently playing through Dragon Quest XI, loving it. And I remember I picked up Dragon Quest VII on, oh, here it is right here actually. I had to import this from America because we never got it over here, and I was like, one day I guess I will play this. And this was when I knew that this was a thing. This existed in Japan for so long before they decided to say fuck it and actually localize it. And it is a big game, okay? I have more than 100 hours on this, probably way more than that actually. There's just so much shit that you do in this game. And it really is just like a very traditional Dragon Quest game. You're just doing all the turn-based combat, you're going from here to here to here to here, hoping that stuff happens, and it does, but it comes together so well. It really is an awesome game. I love it so much because it's Dragon Quest, I guess. You know, it is, in a way, I don't want to be too cynical in saying it like this, but it is just another Dragon Quest game, I suppose. But it's the best one on the 3DS. It was a really good follow-up to the remakes of Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 that we got on the original DS. We did eventually get Dragon Quest 8 on the 3DS as well, but I didn't really... I own it, it's over there, but I didn't really play it because, I don't know, it was like a less better looking version than what we got on the PS2, and I don't know, I just couldn't be arsed putting another 100 fucking hours into the game, basically. But was more than happy to do it for this Dragon Quest VII. And the last RPG that I'm going to talk about, and I almost didn't put this on the list because this is definitely a game that I adore to death, but it's not really a 3DS game. It's Tales of the Abyss. This is a port of a PS2 game, but it's the game that really got me into the Tales series. Tales series, I was absolutely obsessed with it for a good chunk of my gaming life, like a good couple of years. I was always constantly following. This was what I was talking about, localization, because the Tales games never really like made it out of Japan for a good while. And then when they were eventually like, okay, Tales of Graces F and Tales of the Abyss in 3DS, let's throw them out there and see what happens. They did really good, and we keep getting Tales of games to this day. Admittingly, the Tales of games have kind of like dropped off a little bit for me. Tales of Xillia was... didn't dig it that much. Tales of Zestiria, couldn't even beat it, and Tales of Zestiria, I don't know, it feels like we're getting the same game all the time with it now. I think they need to like... they need a new engine, basically, to like make it exciting again, I guess is my sort of problem. Provided that they are working on another Tales of game, and apparently they are, and we'll see what happens with it. But yeah, this is my favourite Tales of game for definite. I love every character of the story. Every other reason I say I love an RPG is probably applies to this, so fuck it, let's just say that this is number 4 and get on with it. Okay, top 3. Joy, top 3, here we go. Number 3 is... Story of Seasons. I like Harvest Moon! I really love Harvest Moon. I loved when I remember picking up Harvest Moon: A New Beginning on the 3DS, which was the last game the original development team made that was called Harvest Moon, before they split off from Natsume and went on to make their own Harvest Moon game that they just called Story of Seasons. That's like a big story, you can Google it if you want, but for all intents and purposes, this is Harvest Moon, but it's its own franchise. So we got this, and we also got Story of Seasons Trio of Towns, which was a few years later, which was the sequel to this. Again, it's just Harvest Moon. But I think this one was the one that I dug the most. I liked the villagers the most. I just played it the most. I played New Beginning and Trio of Towns so much as well. But I'm gonna say this one, just because. I want Story of Seasons on the Switch. I want that so bad. Fuck Animal Crossing. Story of Seasons on the Switch. Please make it happen, Marvelous. Please. I want to play that so bad. Story of Seasons number 3. I love this game. I love it so much. Number 2. Now, this is controversial, actually. A lot of people are going to be mad about this, because I love this game for so many reasons, but some people hate this game for a lot of different reasons. But, not me. Icarus Uprising. It's fucking excellent. I love it so much, you know. I guess the thing that's controversial about it is its controls. Some people really didn't dig it. It was like with the stylus and you have to do it. I loved it, okay? And some people can't comprehend that you're okay with something and they're not. Like, I don't know, I've had so many discussions with people. Like, every time this game does, like, get brought up, almost everything else always gets complimented. Its story, its characters, its music. Presentation was just, like, so good at the time. You know, Sakurai was the director of this and he did an excellent job. But so many people can't get, like, past those controls. And I'll admit, they're not exactly, like, perfect and they're hard to, like, to learn and stuff, but when you do get into that sort of vibe, it's I feel like I'm really repeating myself here. I'm putting it at number 2 for a reason, okay? I fucking love it, okay? The controls did not ruin it for me. I'll leave it at that. Okay, and number 1, extremely fucking obvious for anybody who is watching this video, but I'm gonna give it to Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice. We got 2 3DS games on the 2 Ace Attorney games on the 3DS, Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice. Spirit of Justice is easily the better game. And again, going back to that like era, they were digital only on the 3DS, and fans made such an uproar about this, but Capcom would not let in. They were like, no, digital only, digital only. I remember like both games were like at the top of the 3DS eShop charts for weeks, but Capcom was still like convinced that a physical copy was not in the cards, that it would not do good. And I cannot comprehend that at all, right? I just, like, and again, considering what I was talking about today, you know, today you can't, you know, get physical versions of something. It's just really easy, even if it comes out a little bit later. And they recently announced Ace Attorney 1, 2, and 3 for PS4 and Switch and all that jazz. And it actually kind of upset me because it's like, I've bought those games on like everything that they're available on. And if they just came out with like Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, like a physical version for the Switch, PS4, what have you, then that would get me hyped if they actually concentrated on these other games that were excellent, you know? Because, yeah, Spirit of Justice, it's one of the best Ace Attorney games. Really is. Loved everything about it, and I'm eagerly waiting for the next Ace Attorney game, which will definitely have a physical version. If it doesn't, Capcom, you're cunts. Okay, that's it. Top 20 3DS games, guys. Hope you liked it. See you after. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.